Another month, another World Cup. At least it seems to feel that way in cricket these days. They just keep coming at us thick and fast. I'm talking, of course, on the brink of the T20 International World Cup, which is about to get underway in India and Sri Lanka. And it is literally the fourth T20 International World Cup in as many years. And it comes at a time when cricket is just so saturated with seemingly globally decisive competitions, whether it be ODI World Cups, World Test Championships, Champions Trophies, and of course the now ubiquitous T20 format as well. They just come thick and fast, don't they? And I suppose in some ways it could diminish the value of them. I'm not going to get too political because I don't have time in this particular interview to do so, but the fact that a test playing nation could actually choose or decide to pull out and not go to a World Cup of any kind, that's eye-catching. I'm talking about Bangladesh not being there, and then, of course, all sorts of things with Pakistan opting to not play a match, the scheduled encounter with India that was due to happen in Sri Lanka. That's strange. I don't know what that tells you about the value of these competitions, or whether that is more to do with the machinations of subcontinental politics than anything else. But anyway, as I said, let's come back to the fact that I'm just going to sit here for a few minutes over my cup of tea this afternoon and chat about something I'm really excited about, which is the T20 World Cup coming along here. The only thing I'd say is that there is a familiarity in a huge way with a lot of the players, because we now have franchise cricket, which is so omnipresent, and we see the franchise players who all, by the way, now play for basically the same teams, don't they? Whichever continent they're on, there's an ownership structure. But it does mean that we are going to be saying, oh, this is curious. Now we're seeing those two teammates, but actually wearing their national uniforms, playing against one another. And in a way that echoed sometimes the things that would happen when fans of Premier League or European club football would watch a World Cup and say, oh, it's interesting to see what happens when the guys that we know from that context play in another context. But I digress. Let's talk about the actual competition itself. As is always the case these days, particularly in T20 cricket, it's a case in many people's eyes, I think, of India, who are so central to everything in cricket right now, but on the pitch in particular, out in front by some distance as the favourites here. Not only because they've got a great recent record in T20 International, and in particular T20 Internationals played at home. I think they must have won, 15 out of the last 18 or something like that. But because they just seem to be getting better and better. Yes, they're playing it, and they're playing it brilliantly, and the IPL has helped them. But the top order batting is just freakishly strong. They just seem to be plucking players out who could fit in the top 3, 4, 5 and smash improbable numbers of sixes. They've got the number one ranked bowler in the world in the brilliant Varun Chakravarti. So they've got Hardik Pandya, who's just a switched on all-rounder. So I've got to have India out there in front. And the interesting thing as well, it's a little subplot, is just how many runs are going to be scored. What are the run rates going to be like? Are we going to consistently see over 10 per over? I think there's a good chance we will do, unless the pitches in Sri Lanka are a little bit grippy. And I don't know, maybe that might slow down. But recently we've seen England, who have actually turned the corner a little bit in terms of getting back to their World Cup winning form. They've been scoring close to 10 runs and over, averaging. India always up there as well. So I think we're going to see enormous numbers of runs scored, which is bad news for the bowlers once again, who are going to have to think about changes of pace and angle and anything they can do just to stop the onslaught. So India way out in front. And then it's really interesting to think who might be the biggest challengers. Australia you always look at as a World Cup entity and say, well, yeah, they've got a chance, but they've been disrupted by injuries, chopping and changing the side. Never rule them out, because it is, of course, a World Cup. New Zealand have, of course, in recent years showed themselves to be always up for it when it comes to a World Cup competition. But South Africa, I mean, they've been so good on all fronts, cricket-wise, in recent times, that you can't really discount them. I don't know if they've quite clicked yet, either as a full-strength bowling unit in T20. Not sure. I have to see whether or not they continue their great form. England, I'm always loath to predict anything too great for this England side, but they do seem to have in terms of the flair in the team with the bat, always plenty about them. It tends to be, for me, whether or not they've got enough penetration as a bowling unit. But one thing I will say is this: it's going to be an event that is so exciting because, yes, there's the familiarity of all those franchise players, the superstars, but I love the presence of the smaller nations. I mean, we've got the Europeans represented, the Dutch we know about, Italy. How about Italy being involved? Scotland coming in at the last minute for Bangladesh. I think that is going to provide a lot of the fun in the early days of this World Cup, and then it will come down to the firepower, the superstars, and at the moment you'd have to say it looks as if Indian audience would probably yet again be celebrating as their team goes out and does something special. But it's going to be fun finding out, and I'll come back sometime during the tournament and maybe have another chat about it. But do let me know your thoughts, and if you would like to have a chat, do remember to like this post, share it if you think anyone else would like to have a chat about it. Make your comment and subscribe so you'll know when I'm next up and about talking about things like this.